Hi, welcome back to my channel. I thought I would take a few minutes to explain a little bit about why I started this project of knitting my DNA. As I tell people this, I don't think that sometimes they really understand what I mean, and I guess it clicks in my mind, but maybe it doesn't translate so well. So I thought I'd explain a little bit. I've been writing a book for some time, and I've got quite a bit written. I still have a lot more to write. But I just recently started writing about this project of mine. So I've got some notes here. So if it looks like I'm reading, I am a little bit. So I'm going to use those. When I started this project, I thought about my life, and a lot of times as you grow up, you know where your family came from, and there's a lot of stability in that. When you don't know, just about everything that comes up in your life, you refer back to not knowing, like, do I have a medical condition? Why do I do the things that I do? Why are my eyes blue? Why do I make certain gestures? Why do I like art so well? I just don't know. You know, you always wonder, did I inherit those kind of things? Life is always kind of spent trying to figure out why you kind of think the way you do, why you do the things you do. Growing up, I didn't even eat the same food that the people that I grew up with. It was very obvious to me that I was different than they were. So it kind of started, it's a long story. It's a story of survival. What I would say about my life is I equate it to whitewater rafting. If you're going down a river really fast and you don't have any oars, all you're trying to do is avoid those rocks and not drown. And it's fast and it's furious. And for a long time, that's all I could do was just to manage avoiding those rocks. When I discovered who I was and where I came from, there wasn't a lot to hang on to. I'd taken a DNA test through Ancestry, and it was the closest thing I had to understanding myself a little bit. I didn't know my ethnicity. I didn't know anything about the people that where I came from. There's just data points, you know, but they're there, and there's no secrets in those data points. I've done arts and crafts almost all my life, and I've been an artist most of my life. Most of those arts and crafts came out of necessity. I'd grown up on a farm, and we had to make clothes and quilts, and I learned to crochet when I was a child. And later on, I taught myself to knit from a book. There was no internet, no YouTube. I had to interpret what those written words were that someone thoughtfully wrote down and hope my mind could understand and progress to actually construct something from that ball of yarn. It turns out in my DNA that most of my ancestors were from very cold places. So textiles were a staple in their daily lives throughout history. I'm 100% European. Most of that ancestry comes from the British Isles, primarily Scotland and England, but there's a lot of Norwegian and other places, Germany, that come into play. And I wonder, is that why I wanted to learn how to knit? Is that why I like textiles so much? Is there something in the DNA that reaches through the surface for us to remember? It seemed like a constructive way to connect something that was uniquely me. The idea came very slowly to me, breaking over those Scottish highlands. It's like the dawn breaking over those Scottish highlands. I've never seen them, but somehow recognize them in my bones. What if I could take those DNA percentages, the cold and clinical numbers that represent the only truth I had about where I came from, and transform them into something tangible, something warm, and something real? Knitting, I realized, is just like DNA. Each stitch lips through the one before it, depending on what came before, creating what comes next. One stitch alone means nothing, but thousands of them together create a pattern, a fabric, and a story. My ancestors are the stitches that I never saw being made, but they're in there in the fabric of who I am. Each generation looped through the next, carrying forward techniques, resilience, and a knowledge of how to survive the cold. When I sit down with my needles in my yarn, the repetitive motion becomes a meditation. It's comforting. It's knit, purl, knit, purl. The rhythm quiets the chaos that living in survival mode created in my mind. For once, I'm not dodging the rocks. I'm creating something intentional. Each row I complete is a row that I have control over. Each stitch is a choice that I get to make. Every time I pick up something, that I'm making as part of this project, I'm doing what my ancestors did. I'm taking raw materials and transforming it into something that protects against the cold, but I'm also making it mine. I'm proving that despite everything that tried to break me, I can still create. I'm doing what they may have not had the luxury to do. I'm making it beautiful. My hands learned to make these things out of necessity, and now that I make them as a mode of reclamation. The work of my DNA, the work is my DNA made visible. It's proof that where I come from, people who survived, who created, who passed something down when everything else was taken away. And when I wear it, I'll be wrapped in my own story, a story that I'm able to tell. So that's just a little back story of my project and some of the words that I'm starting to write in my book. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that the project makes more sense as I spend this year knitting things that I'd like to wear when I take my trip to Scotland and maybe other places too, just to explore and maybe stand in places that people before me stood in. Thanks for listening. Bye.